So hi guys, thanks for joining me on Penumbra Dog Beauty, and today's episode is brought to you by Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. They're supporting marriage equality in Australia. I know it's a hot topic at the moment and has been for many years. I encourage you to check out the video. I've got an annotation here in the video as well as a link in the description box below. So check that out in your leisure. So I do want to share with you sort of a personal story. It's one of those sorts of videos. So it's obviously something that's quite dear to me. It's affected, migraines have affected my family, my mother, my father, and myself, as well as quite a few friends that I know. But you're probably thinking, what's this got to do with the beauty channel? Why are you going on about all these sort of social things as well as like health and all that? Well, it is something I've had on my mind for years and years now. I wanted to do a post, and particularly now it's actually coming up to National Headache and Migraine Awareness Week. It's September the 16th to the 22nd in Australia. So it's only a few weeks away. So I wanted to sort of get it more out there, sort of more mainstream. I know everyone knows the word migraine, headache, etc. I mean, migraine's just a really bad headache, isn't it? Not necessarily, and also I'm wanting to do it because a lot of people are either not diagnosed with it. There's a lot of sufferers out there that probably don't realize they are getting migraines, and also sort of make aware there are so many different types of migraines out there. It's not just a bad headache. And it also does seem to be a little bit of a joke. People seem to say, oh, I've got a migraine, I'm not going into work, and I hear that a lot. Out there, people saying, oh, I've got a migraine. And then of course I'm like, oh, so when were you diagnosed? What do you take for it? Are you on preventatives? Do you know what your triggers are? And when I get that really perplexed look, like, I know there's a bit of going on there. So anyway, that's sort of why I want to do it. And I was actually inspired by Rosie. She did a video, I think it's RDJ, always get the, I'll put it right here. Rosie did a video probably about 3 years ago now about an issue that was very close to her. And I'll actually link that below as well. It is actually to do with beauty. We're talking about health here. I think health and beauty is very closely related. So anyway, enough of the chit chat. Let's get straight down to it. So what do I mean by migraine? Now, I mean, a lot of people get very bad headaches with a migraine, but there's different types. There's tension headaches, there's other types out there as well. So you might be sort of even misdiagnosing yourself. You might think you've got a migraine, but there might be another type of headache that you're actually getting, and you need to get sorted. So this is again why I'm wanting to do it. So for me, my migraine story. So my mum and my dad both got migraines. There does seem to be a strong hereditary link between migraines and sufferers. So for me, that's probably why I ended up getting them. I actually started getting migraines very young. There seems to be a little bit of a debate that I might have had stomach or tummy migraines when I was very young. I was always in the sick bay at school. It's the most sort of memories I have from either getting bullied or being in the sick bay. That's sort of what I mostly remember about my very early school days, sort of being very physically sick, having very bad headaches, being very dizzy. But it wasn't until I hit puberty, around about the 12-year mark, when I was diagnosed with having classical migraines. I think they're called migraine with aura now, which pretty much means at the onset of the attack or the episode, you might start to get a little bit of it's like a flickering light. To me, it was like looking through a prism. It starts very, very small, can be anywhere in your vision, on the side or on the center of the vision, and over maybe half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, I start to get the patch widens, and pretty much there's quite a large scope of vision that I can't really see through. It's just a very sort of tangle of lights, and which is the aura. And yeah, so there's quite a big area of my vision that I can't actually see. I just see those sorts of lights. So when I'm sort of looking, that's sort of all that I see. And it isn't sort of to the tail end of that, when that starts to fade or it starts to go around the side of my vision, that I actually get the headache. It goes in severity, so sometimes I can get a really bad headache, like an absolutely pounding headache, like a very, very strong hangover type headache, when you're very severely hydrated type headache. Or it can just be a little bit of a nag of a headache, a little niggle of a headache, and then it can fade. So it used to be very strong when I was younger. And I think over the last 10 to 15 years, they've sort of dropped in severity, which is I'm very happy to report. But for me, the only relief would be when I'd be also very nauseous as well. The only relief that I'd actually get from the pain really would be to be physically sick. And really no sort of medication over the course of the years really helped with it. Like I tried obviously just your Panadol, there's Migral, there's so many different types of migraine headaches. It's not of medications. It's not funny. There's some that you can take to help relieve the actual headache, the symptoms, the pain. There's some that you can even take daily to stop attacks. So again, it's quite a long period to go through to try and find out not just what your triggers are. So some people can be caffeine, coffee, stress, dehydration, tiredness, but also to find out what actually works for you. Now over the years, I remember the most prominent thing that I tried was, I think it's Imegral or Sinuptrin, maybe it's Sinuptrin, pretty much where you self-inject. For me, that was probably the worst experience with a medication for the headaches, is because when I self-injected, what it did, it pretty much made all of my, I suppose my muscles contract, my blood vessels dilate, contracted, and I sort of basically spasmed. It was a very horrible feeling. So for me, that wasn't the way to go. Over the years, I've tried different types of preventatives as well to try and stop the severity of the headaches and the attacks. None of them really worked for me, and I couldn't really find, from diarising every day, what I would eat, what I would do, an actual sort of trigger. But for me, I've learned what my symptoms are. So I found that for me, the day normally before I get an attack, so it can be 12 to 24 hours before I get an attack, I get extremely tired for no reason. Like I'm not doing anything unusual. I'm hydrated, etc. But I get extremely, unexplainably very tired, like literally exhausted. I also have really, really strong cravings for chocolate. I am a chocoholic. I do love chocolate, but we're talking a ridiculous craving for no reason. So, and I started to notice this was an actual pattern, and the next thing I knew, I'd get the aura, then the headache. This went on for many years. So I learned that they were my symptoms. But as for a trigger, never really found one. But you do tend to get more when you're very stressed and very tired and dehydrated. So that places basically more strain on your body. So I also ended up seeing a neurologist. I mean, you don't have to see a neurologist for migraines, but your GP should do. But for me, I needed to see a specialist because when I was about, I think coming up to 30, I was diagnosed with hemiplegic migraines. Now, these are actually quite a rare form of migraine. Hemiplegic migraine pretty much means that you can, at a severe attack, become paralyzed down one side of your body. You can also lose the ability to speak. And yeah, it's a very severe attack. There's even worse ones, I think, out there where you can actually go blind for a period of time. But again, I'll put some links down below if you want to check out the sites in Australia, and obviously some definitions, and read more about all of this. Check down below in the box. But for me, yeah, I've only had a few very severe attacks, and I've only maybe even had now maybe one every 2 years. So for me, that's great. I think for me it was though a trigger of severe stress at that time. I was going through a marriage breakup and other things were going on. But it pretty much, the first episode I had was where I thought I was having a heart attack and a stroke. So I thought I was suffering from a heart attack which was leading to a stroke. So pretty much I was going through chest pains. I had elevated heart rate. I had I started to become aware that I was being paralysed. I got the pins and needles, and then I realised I was becoming paralysed. I started to speak in gobbledygook. I could think clearly. Everything was pretty much clear, my thought processes, etc. But when I would open my mouth to speak, it was literally just, it was gibberish. Able to move down one side of my body. So it was a horrible feeling. They rushed me in. I went through the heart ward, through the stroke ward, pretty much had every test, EEG, I had scans on my brain, on MRI. I had pretty much everything you can imagine to make sure I hadn't had a heart attack or a stroke. I ended up finding out I also had a few minor heart issues as well. It's not just, you don't just sort of get them when you're young, and you don't just sort of, you can develop migraines at any time in your life. It's what I'm trying to get here. So if you are getting some strange symptoms, some really things happening to you, headaches, etc., I do encourage you to go to your GP, and they can refer you from there to a specialist. But that's pretty much sort of my story. Where I am now at my stage of life, when I went to see the neurologist, once they diagnosed me with hemiplegic migraines, was I had a choice of either going on preventatives, so taking drugs every day for the rest of my life to try and stop the attacks, and trying to find the right one. Took, like, we're talking many months to find one that I wasn't having reactions to, whether it be psychological, physical, being sick, affecting sort of pretty much my daily life. Went through that, and then I thought, for me, I will take my chance. So it's a personal choice, of course, for me. So when I do get like just either a migraine, which is like a severe headache, whether I get the migraine with aura, or I might get hemiplegic migraine, I just take a Panadol if I need it, if and when I need it. And also be aware, I had many years I just took Panadol or aspirin. There's many things about what can be side effects from taking those over a long course of your life, but I have found that it made me quite sensitive. So pretty much if you are finding that you're taking a lot of Panadol or aspirin, etc., it can actually be up to a point where it doesn't affect you as much. So when you're taking it, you feel like you need to take more, but there's only a certain amount you can take. And you find you're getting sort of more and more headaches. It's because you're desensitizing yourself to these drugs. So pretty much the more you take, the less effect over the course of your life they might actually have, and it may even cause more headaches in the long run. So again, something to be aware of. But for me, I only sort of take it if and when I need it. You can also obviously take anti-inflammatories as well. Again, they might think that migraines are caused by your blood vessels sort of either dilating or contracting. So either dilating or contracting. There's a lot of research going on as well. I've sort of slipped behind in some of that, but I really want to make a lot of people more aware of it. Please go and get diagnosed. If you are thinking you are getting migraines or bad headaches, again, there's other types of headaches as well, even some more severe than migraines. Please check out the links below, go to your GP to actually have a chat about it. Maybe even keep a diary, which is another thing that they do when you go and see that. They want to know sort of what you're drinking, what you're eating, what you're doing, to try and find those triggers for you. And in that way, maybe try and find what might be a good, not necessarily a cure, but a preventative for you as well. But that's pretty much my little story for you. Read more, like I said, down below. Check out the Ben & Jerry's video. It's not much about ice cream, and obviously it is about marriage equality. Again, that's something, if you are wanting to check it out, check it out. I found it was something good for me to go behind as well, because obviously I am a Kiwi, I'm from New Zealand, it's my homeland, but you might be aware that they've actually just signed it off in New Zealand, so it is illegal in New Zealand, but just across the Tasman, here in Australia, it's not yet. So go and check it out and offer your support as well. So guys, thanks for joining me, and take care.